You are listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports scene on Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Hopewell, Virginia. Wole and Glen are your hosts. Ray, Jeezy, and Mo are out. We also have Seawall Sports and Entertainment's Candi Waller. She's the CEO of Seawall Sports. What's going on, Candi?
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Everything's good, man. Everything's good, Candi. You know, it's a lot. Well, I haven't had you on since, the Carson Wentz news and whatnot, so a lot of it's a lukewarm time for the Washington Commander fans. I want to say a lukewarm time. People don't know if they want to be happy or not.
I've been getting that sense. Absolutely. You don't know if you're mad or gotta just say, hey, this all we got.
So I'm trying to stay away from the Carson. We did that last week. I'm trying to stay away from Carson Wentz talk. I'm even trying to stay away from Scott Turner talk. I'm trying to get away from all that.
Hey, at least these moves have made people stop talking about the Washington Commanders uniforms.
That's facts. Or the name too.
Or the name.
Or the name.
Or the name.
Like people like me, you know what I mean? Just keep my mind going elsewhere. Hey, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Just search All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports scene. Also tweet us at Urban Sports Scene and hit us up on IG at Urban Sports Scene and like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Make sure you subscribe to Fox Sports 1340 AM Hopewell, Virginia, and the Urban Sports Scene YouTube channels as well. Also like the Fox Sports Facebook page as well. I'll make sure I throw that in. Hey, also it's time for the pregame. Here's what we have on tap. We'll talk about possible important re-signs for the Washington Commanders. I always want to say the Washington football team, but yeah, the Washington Commanders, See, I'm going away. We're going away from Carson Wentz. We're going a different route. All right. The Commanders still have not re-signed wide receiver and returner Deandre Carter. Candi, is this a guy that they should be trying to bring in ASAP?
I'm sitting back and I'm really wondering. I mean, I know you're staying away from Carson Wentz, and that's cool. Mm-hmm. But I keep going back, but I feel like what I'm about to say is applicable.
It's okay.
Because we continue to hear that the team felt like they were just a quarterback away. Mm-hmm. Right. And you kind of sense that, right? Because they basically use their cap on the quarterback position.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, if they really feel like that they're just a quarterback away, then that means signing people like Deandre Carter. Uh-huh. Now, was Deandre Carter like the second coming of Brian Mitchell at the position? No. Uh-uh. but you did see some improvement and saw some flashes of Deandre last season. So I do think this is a role that needs to be filled. And I think he has a great chance at filling that role. And we haven't heard anything at all about Deandre Carter. Nothing.
Yeah, which I'm not a big fan of because you're right. He's not Brian Mitchell. It's hard to be Brian Mitchell. That's a Hall of Famer. Right. Exactly. So I don't ever want to put anybody on that board. But I would say that he's probably, Banks had a good little run too. But for that 1 year, if we arguably up there with one of their better returners they've had since B. Mitch, you know what I mean? I'm going to give Banks out there too before he started the fumbling issues, but Brandon Banks I'm referring to. But like he's a kid that made plays as a returner and he ran the way that you wanted a returner to run. He wasn't no dancing. He was going straight forward and trying to, and he had the speed to kind of break along with. So to me, with a team that there's so much unknown within the offense. A lot of people, and I'm close to doing it, but there's so much unknown with the offense that you can't try to mitigate or alleviate or kind of subtract what you have in special teams. Your special teams isn't great, but your returner was somebody that that's feared, that other teams did fear. Like if you watch, other teams feared him. So you can't subtract that. Like you're not that team. You're not the New England Patriots with a Bill Belichick. You're not a Sean McVay in the LA Rams. You're not on that level where you can gotta subtract talent that can help you as a football team. So I just think he's a player for this team that has shown value. Like he has produced for you. I can put it this way. He has produced for you. You're not at the point where you can be like, we don't need him. You're not that good.
I kind of disagree. I think they don't. I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
And this is why the returner position, the guys you named, it was before the new rule, right?
Yeah.
Well, now the ball comes out to the 25, then they move kickers up closer, right? So you're not seeing as many kick returns in the NFL. Many kick returns in the NFL anymore, right? So you don't really need a return guy. You do need a wide receiver. By them not signing him or mentioning his name tells me now that the Washington Commanders are going for a wide receiver in the first round, because there are several good wide receivers in the first round. You have we talked about it last week. I think we talked about Garrett Wilson. You got the guy from I would think it's London, right? From
USC.
Drake London from USC, right? So you have those guys. So they need receivers, right? More so than any return guys. So if Carter can't be one of your top 3 or 4 or 5 receivers, then you don't need to sign him. And I'm gonna stay away from where you guys talked about. So I'm not gonna mention the quarterback's name, but he needs some key receivers, not just a return guy. And I think the way the returns are coming these days, that Washington doesn't, everybody's kicking it into the end zone.
I mean, but punt returns though. But this I will add real quick. Punt returners don't, but he's dynamic in punt returning, and that's not going in the end zone. This is okay. So people can call me a hater, but it is what it is. What is Cam Sims on this roster in terms of they draft a wide receiver? To your point, they draft a wide receiver. Where is he on the depth chart? He's a 4th receiver.
Yeah, but you know what? I think people look at Cam Sims and say, you know what? They still looking at the potential of Cam Sims, and it's been so long, right? That it's beyond the point of potential right now. He needs to be a producer.
Yeah, right? and I agree with you. And this is the thing, and it's not, and I don't even blame him. This is not. I mean, at the end of the day, they're not gonna slot him as a 2nd receiver. They're not gonna even slot him as a 3rd receiver if they draft the receiver, because you got Curtis Samuel. So you're not. So you got Scary Terry. You draft the receiver. That's a 2nd receiver, right? You got De'Ami Brown, who they still do like, regardless of him. So he's gonna be battling a De'Ami Brown, like to prove that he's better than De'Ami. That's gonna be his role. He's gonna try to, but then that's not guaranteed a bunch of snaps. While you have a dude who can return, that that he's a returner. Forget even being the receiver, he's the returner. And you go as a punt returner. You're right, Glenn. As a kickoff returner, that ain't the same. You're right. But as a punt returner, this is the guy that can flip the field. That can help this offense. You're not going to have at this point in time, there isn't anybody that you can say on the roster that can do that. You know what I mean? For you, or even if you look on free agency, if you draft somebody, that's not in the guarantee that person can produce that way. For instance, folks thought Jamison Crowder, he had like a good year, but Jamison Crowder was going to be a dynamic returner. He didn't end up being a dynamic returner. He ended up being more of a dynamic slot dude. So like they have a guy they know that has produced and has done this for a while in the NFL as a good returner. I'm like, you could value that. Again, I know I'm gonna get some flack for it. I would have valued that over getting the camp than signing back Cam Sims. That's just me.
Yeah, you know what I've been thinking about in terms of the role of your returner. So I'm gonna go back to the point of Brian Mitchell. That's old.
Yeah. Gotcha. Old. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
But we did see teams that were playing late into the season using their best players at that position. So saw the 49ers using Deebo Samuel in that role. We saw the Bengals using Jamar Chase at that role. So I'm not saying that it should be Terry McLaurin in that role. I'm not saying it could be Antonio Gibson. It could be Curtis Samuel.
Very good point.
It absolutely needs to be one of your best players to do exactly what you said, and that's flip the field. You put your best player back there because that is an opportunity to score points.
That's a good point. Curtis Samuel. I didn't think about that. I didn't even think about Curtis. That would be good. Like Curtis Samuel could do it. And I think he could be dynamic at it too. The only issue is about health, but I think he could definitely do it. And the money you gave him, money plays a part. You're right. Deebo, you're right. Deebo a beast, but that money ain't there yet for him not to play it. Right. So once you invest that money,
somebody, it's got to be one of your top players.
Yeah, I get it. And I agree with you. Like if you got a guy who's dynamic, who can do a lot, like the Eagles used to, and Washington did to a certain extent. Deshaun Jackson, they would do it sporadically. They wouldn't do it all the time, but every once in a while they would put him back on punt return because he's just that dynamic. Like he can
He
do
can
it.
break one at any moment, right?
Any moment. Like you're just scared. Like and he does. You're scared. Like real talk. You're scared. If he gets the ball in his hands in that situation, you're scared. So I do like that. Like I like, you know what? If their plan is to have Curtis Samuel do a little bit more, I'm not mad. I think it would be a good move because, like Glen said, it is limited. Like kickoff returns are limited. That's a fact. It is. Everybody kicks out the end zone. Punts, now you got an opportunity. But, and to your point, if you're asking Curtis Samuel to do it, you know, a couple times, then it kind of gives you some wiggle room to say, you know what, we don't need a Deandre Carter. So see, you changed my mind. I'm not even that. I'm not stubborn. I'm not even stubborn. I want fans to know out there that I'm not stubborn. Like I can be, like I can listen. I can listen. I am not an all-around hater. I can listen.
I mean, it's another option. It's another option.
It is. It really is.
If they play deep into the playoffs, they're going to their best players. I mean, like you said, B. Mitchell's a Hall of Famer, and that's what he did.
Yeah,
he played dual roles and he killed it. And,
he a beast. That's a different animal.
So it's like, hey, let's take it back to the 90s. Everybody else, some things still work that way. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's been really quiet on Deandre Carter. I'm not sure if they value him in the same way, or like we said, maybe they're gonna use Curtis Samuel in that role.
Glen, I'm gonna ask you this. Do you think that Rivera values what Carter did for him last season?
I think he appreciates it.
Okay.
I think he appreciates it. I don't know what value he puts on it, but I think he appreciates it. Because again, if you look at some of those games, he did help them flip the field and put them in a good position. Yeah. Now, what happened on the drive ain't his fault, but he did what he needed to do. Yeah. First thing as a punt returner, first thing you ask the punt returner to do as a coach is catch the football.
Yes.
I don't care whatever else you do, right? Don't fumble the football. First thing I need to do is catch the football. If you can catch the football and you gain a couple yards, I'm good. Just don't muff it or fumble it, and we give it back to the other team. So, you know, if you take that that approach, find anybody who can catch the football and maybe get you a couple yards.
I agree. I think that drop pass, I think he did well as a receiver too. He made a lot of big plays as a receiver for the team. But I do think that drop pass I forgot what game when they was coming back and he dropped that football. Game. Yeah, it was the Cowboys game. Thank you. It was the Cowboys game. I kind of think that looms large right now why he's not re-signed. I kind of think that that's the last big time thing that people remember, that drop pass. So I kind of think that's in the staff's mind of saying, you know what, he's expendable.
Yeah, you lose faith. I mean, you lose faith in you. You lose faith in you. You lose confidence, especially in key situations like that, because you got to step up. And if you can't step up in those key moments, you know, unless you're Antonio Gibson, because they keep putting him back out there.
He can fumble anytime he wants to. he can fumble. He's allowed to fumble. You know, he's allowed to fumble.
I have that challenge with him too. I know he gets 1,000 yards. I get it, but it's like, could you imagine what his season would be like if he didn't have all those fumbles?
Yeah,
6 is a lot.
Not even that. How many wins that the Washington Football Organization could have had if he didn't have some of those fumbles?
Yeah,
he lost the Chargers game. That one basically lost the Chargers game. I'm gonna keep saying that.
That makes a difference. Now you start the season
differently.
Now you got a little bit of confidence, and you're not in the hole. You know what I'm saying? I agree. You beat a quality team with a good quarterback.
Yeah, it looks different. The outlook is different. The morale in the locker room is different. Everything is different when people don't understand momentum. You know what I mean? They look at it like it's a loss, but momentum can do so much for you. You know what I mean? Especially like anything, like you feel good, you look good. You win, you feel like you're invincible, which helps your confidence for the second game. So it all works hand in hand.
The second game with the Giants, right? And
that's 2-0. That could be 2-0.
That's 2-0, and that makes a difference going into your third, fourth, and even fifth game. So.
No, I'm with you, Glenn. I'm definitely with you. You're listening to wrong thing. You're listening to All Burgundy and Gold Errrything with the Urban Sports Scene on Fox Sports Radio 1340 AM. And I'm over it. Hopewell, Virginia. You know what I'm saying? I'm all over at the place right now. I'm kind of like getting kind of tired. I have 2 shows, y'all. 2 shows. God bless me. That was God bless me. I'm 96 1348 Hopewell, Virginia. Excuse me. All right. So getting to the next one. What are some of the notable free agents? I mean, notable re-signees that you think this team should try to should target that we haven't spoke about?
I mean, I would hope they're trying to figure out already the extension for Terry McLaurin.
That's a good one. Extension. I like that one.
I mean, what we doing here? Like, I mean, and you know, there's been the reports that they've been meeting with his people. They've been having conversations.
Yeah.
But with Christian Kirk getting the deal he got, I'm like, well, they need to go ahead and try to. Did he get a huge? I mean, I think he was the one that was kind of like, whoa, wasn't expecting him to get that, but that kind of sets the wide receiver market. His was pretty. It was like a lot for him.
Well, it was a lot. I think Scary gonna get his bag. I mean, I think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
He getting his bag. Scary getting his bag. They have some other. All this money tied into the quarterback. It is what it is. All this money tied into the quarterback's kind of like hamper what they want to do this season, right? So I'm like, I'm not even sure now if they can do. They gotta do a couple of cuts to kind of like
they gonna have to
do the extension that they want to do with Scary, right? Like for real, to get the money that he needs to get, but. There are players on this roster that could. That's why I'm like, yo, like, why are you? I'm gonna sound like a hater. Why are you resigning Cam Sims and folks when that money could be going to Scary? I'm sorry, like that's how I look at it.
I'm telling you, unless Ron Rivera was really literal and he was serious that they really only believe they're a quarterback away.
Yeah, that's the problem with Coach Rivera.
That's the issue. They much more that if you watched that team play last year, right?
And more than a quarterback
away.
It's
much more than a quarterback away.
For sure, I agree.
They're much more than a quarterback away. There are several things. They need a receiver, or they need a receiver.
They need a linebacker.
They need to keep healthy tight end. They need a linebacker. They need some offensive linemen, right? I mean, I'm being honest.
They do that. Yeah, they need some linemen. They need depth. They need depth.
They need depth at offensive linemen.
Yeah, so much, man. So much.
You need so much, and so you need the depth. You need depth at safety. Let's be honest. That means safety.
They need a lot, man. Like, look, you have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. So for Rivera to think that he's just a quarterback away is ridiculous. Like at the end of the day, like it was a total team effort of being 7 and 10. It was a total team effort. Like you're 7 and 10, your offense was trash, your defense was trash as a whole.
You got gashed by the Philadelphia
Eagles. And your offense and your kicking game was trash. So your special teams was trash. You had all around the board, your whole units were bad. So if it's either there are three things that you there are three issues that you had to get fixed, right? Mm-hmm. Talent on defense, the quarterback, if you want to go that route, we can say quarterback, and coaching. So like get that fixed overall. And on the only thing that you really fixed in the offseason to what he believes is the quarterback position. And I'm gonna say this: I am not a Carson Wentz hater. I actually like Carson Wentz. This is not me hating on Carson Wentz. I do think that though you have to be, when you're building a team, you have to take everything into consideration. You have to take in consideration that, last season for him, if you told anybody 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions is a great stat. I don't care what you tell me. Like, that's a good stat line for any quarterback. That's a very good stat line. You win with that kind of stat line. If you're, depending on what kind of team you are, you can win with that stat line. He screwed himself that last game of the season. It was horrible. Last 2 games of the season were horrible for him. So that's what you remember. He choked. That's on him. He has to own that. But also, if you want to look at the history of Carson Wentz, is that he gets hurt. All right, he gets hurt. So you're going to have to sign or re-sign somebody. I mean, you're going to have Taylor Heinicke still in the contract, so he'd be a backup, I guess. But you're going to have that whole thing situated to a point where he could go down, and if he goes down, my whole team has to be good. You know what I mean? So you got guys out there like who has been effective, like Glen's talking about depth. Lucas was an effective back. He was an effective guy for you for the last couple of seasons as your tackle. He's out there in the market. You're gonna have to sign guys, even if it's some of the same guys you had, or bring in some extra guys too. You got Norwell out of Carolina because that's a Carolina thing. Like,
we have not been successful. The team has not been successful bringing people.
Bruh, I'm just exactly what you brought in Norwell from Carolina because this Carolina thing has been so successful. Like, it's been so successful here. All right. So he's bringing Norwell from Carolina. You got to bring in guys to help, bring in depth to solidify your whole unit. You know what I mean? So just in case a Taylor Heineke has to be your quarterback as your backup, if injuries happen, like your team as a whole can kind of weather the storm. So, but it's hard to do that where you give somebody all the money. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do as a staff and a unit and who they decide to bring back and who they decide to even go after, in free agency or even in the draft.
They have to draft very well. I'm at the place where they got to get an A+ in on draft day and on game day all season long. I do not think this team can afford to miss in the draft. This will be their third draft, right? And I just don't think
with the Rivera draft, this is actually his with his team. Mm-hmm. Don't forget Kyle Smith did the first draft. So truth be told, this is the second draft. Now, I will say this. Kyle Smith did a good job in all of his in his draft.
He did
a good job. I mean, like the players, but all of Rivera's core players, other than Cosme, are Kyle Smith guys.
They're Kyle Smith.
Yeah,
he definitely was there.
So I'm like you. I know you're going with Candi. I'm like, yo, your drafts haven't been the best. Like, you know what I mean? That's my thing. His drafts haven't been the best. He's the one who got Jamin Davis. And I'm not hating on Jamin Davis. I think the dude has some tools, but he the one who drafted Jamin Davis in 19. Like, he decided to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I like Deandre Brown. You got Deandre Brown and decided, you got this. You chose this. You chose all this. So all these players, Cosme, all right, cool. I'm not mad at saying Cosme. St. Juice was fine, but he was hurt. Yeah. Like, you drafted all these, like, this is your draft. Like, bro, this is your draft.
I really think it has to be, to you all's point about the depth.
Yeah.
You got to get it right.
You got to get it right.
But see, if you look at the moves they made, right? They already made coaching moves. When you start making coaching moves,
right? So you talking about the extension?
You got coach extension.
I'm not saying nothing. I'm quiet.
I know. But you made some coaching, but they made some coaching changes too, though. Some quiet coaching changes. And so what happened is, to me, that is when you see coaching changes on a staff, the head coach has to do something to calm people down, right? We see it in Carolina where, Matt Rule fired with offensive coordinator, I believe, right? We're gonna calm it down. I gotta get somebody because I know I'm on the chopping block next, right? Let's be honest. Ron Rivera, I don't care what anybody says, and the organization may not say it. Ron Rivera's on the chopping block. This 3 years in, you haven't had a winning season. Don't give me the fact that you won the division. You won a division COVID season. You won a division where Dak Prescott was hurt. You won a division when my man Doug pulled the start and Jalen Hurts was whooping up on the Washington football team, right? Yeah. Jalen Hurts got pulled. So you won a division because you're 7 and you outlasted everybody else, right? Saquon Barkley's hurt, right? Yeah. So
much.
So everything, everybody's telling me the NFC least, right? So everybody knew the whole division was terrible.
Still terrible.
So terrible that year. You won a division. You come back 7-9.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Heineke was your guy, right? I'm sorry. He was your guy. He wanted to be in the organization. Y'all got him. But you still had quarterbacks like Cam Newton and different quarterbacks that was lingering out there. That
you chose this. You chose this.
Veteran quarterbacks who could have maybe came in and
gave you 2 years. And gave you 2 years. And gave you 2. This is the thing, to your point, Glenn, and this is, like, I feel like now I'm about to start bashing folks, but it is what it is. Like, you're doing it. The thing that people were talking about, this is bothers me. The thing that people were talking about, like, get the bridge dude. Yo, you like you said, Glenn, you could have got a bridge dude last year and had 2 years that did that last year and this year, and it'd be the same thing. Like, what the whole thing was, we gotta get a young quarterback. We don't want to get like, I don't like the whole, like, I'm not talking about Cam Newton, but the whole argument about Cam Newton was, if I get Cam Newton, you get Cam Newton in this year, what does that do? You know what I mean? But you're getting Carson Wentz. Like, really, like in the grand scheme of things, you're getting your hopeful franchise quarterback. It's a hopeful thing. Like, you could have got Jameis last. I was like, get Jameis Winston last. Like, you could have tried and get Jameis Winston last year. You chose not to. All right, you're doing the same thing. Like, you're still doing it. You're doing the move that you acted like you couldn't do. You could have did last year. So my thing about like Rivera is like, I don't know if he knows what he wants to do. Like, honestly, I don't know if he really knows what he's trying to do. Like, there's no real succinct plan. I'm with you, Glenn. Like, he's feeling the pressure. But I will say this, though, and I said this before. I think he knows he can get away with a lot because of how terrible this organization is. What I mean by that is the organization has such bad PR, you know what I mean? And the owner has such bad PR, he feels like, oh, he ain't gonna fire me. I ain't worried about him because he's worried about whatever. Like, and he knows that. Therefore, like, this is why he's allowed to do whatever he wants to do. Because to your point, Glenn, I think that any other owner, they see how the team is trending and how it looks, and they're like, yo, you gotta show me something for real. And like, what you're doing is not really showing me a winning product. You got to show me something. You got to show me progression. And because what he gets as the power that he has, and I said this before, only Super Bowl winning coaches have this type of power. Like, the power he has, only Super Bowl winning coaches have this kind of power. Like, Sean McVay, like, has been to his power isn't even as big as what Ron Rivera has right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's a team. They run a team thing in LA. Like, they give him pieces. Like, they say, oh, you know, you want that? I'm gonna go ahead and, but it's talked about within their organization. Like, Ron Rivera is pretty much almost everything here. And that is something for a guy that hasn't really won a bowl. He's been to a bowl. His record without even the Super Bowl isn't the greatest, right? But he has so much power here, which I do think, I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm just saying that for the power he has, it may be too much for him.
I'm thinking that I've thought about that same thing that you're saying. And I'm really thinking it's because of all the turmoil with the organization. I don't know if winning is even the priority versus good character being the priority, right? So
I kind of agree with that. I kind of
in a great light. And so Ron Rivera is well respected across the league.
Yeah.
And everyone knows he's a character person, right? Exactly. Yeah. So now you pick up Carson Wentz, who has talent, but also there's been rumored about issues that he has in the locker room. Nobody really knows what the issues are or what the leadership things are, but Ron Rivera is such a character person. He probably thinks, I can help this kid. Good character, good guys, good people, you know? And I think that is what is the priority versus winning a Super Bowl. That's just what I've observed from what I can tell. It's like you're trying to get a group of good guys together, which is admirable. It's awesome. It's amazing. But at the root, it's what have you won for me lately?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
You can be good guys and don't win games, right? And you're not getting no product. People not coming out. You know, you look at the Chicago Bears, not 85 Bears. Them guys weren't good guys, right? They were characters. All them guys were characters, but they won Super Bowl, right?
That Ravens squad that first year, they weren't great people at all. Some people think Ray Lewis killed somebody. So,
right. You know, and good people. So he was. So again, you want guys who can play. You want guys who have passion. They can play the game. Being a good guy is one thing, and see, this is what's amazing. Because you have guys who are not used to losing on this football team, right?
Yes, people in Alabama are not used to this.
Ohio State cats are not used to this. Alabama cats are not used to this. What you saw between Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen was like, yo, dog, we don't even know what it feel like to be in a losing streak or do this because we're not used to this. Well, now they are since they've been with the team for a while. But now they are. But again, that's because of frustration. So you want to be able to have guys, and he has. It's not like this team doesn't have talent, right?
Right.
They have talent. They have talent. It's just he has to be able to put it together. To me, he's too quiet for me.
Who, Rivera?
Yeah, as a coach, if you look at his demeanor and antics on the sidelines,
oh, he's not demonstrative enough.
But it looks like he's not even into the game.
Yeah, this is I mean, for me, and I'm to what Candi's talking about, and I totally agree with her. Like, that's why I hate that. I hate the term character people. Like, I want dogs. I don't care about your character. I think Doc Walker said this before too, and I totally, when he was saying, I felt it. Like, I felt it in my soul. Like, I was like, I want dogs. I don't need you to be the best person in the world. I want something wrong with you. Cause I know you're going. Something wrong with you. I know you're gonna perform. Like we got into this whole. I understand. Well, I mean, you're right. Washington is a whole different situation because of what they deal with. But Deion Sanders was not the best person in the world. Like, I mean, personally, if you were a fan, I'm sure his teammates thought he was great, but the image of Primetime wasn't the best person in the world. If you want to go that route, he was a dog, though. He was a dog. Like Ray Lewis, like I mentioned, dog. You know what I mean? There's Warren Sapp had issues coming out the draft. People try to like ill on him. Dog. Randy Moss, dog. Terrell Owens supposed to be dog. Got to a bowl. Like, he ain't win it, but he got to a bowl. There's so many. Tom Brady curses out freaking referees.
Everybody
curses them out. He's one of the most disrespectful dudes. Period. If you watch a football game in terms of how he talks to an official, dog. You know what I'm saying?
That's a whole different show. Yeah, every one of us. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. Dan Marino, dog, one of the best, but a dog. Like, I don't need you to be like the nicest person in the world. Like Russ is nice. He's a dog. You could be Russ. You could be a dog and be nice. I mean, I'm not saying you can't, but a lot of folks who eat in this league, Richard Sherman, do a lot of trash talking.
But he had a dog. See, Russ was a product. He was a nice guy, but he had a lot of dogs.
He had dogs, a lot of dogs around
him.
Marshawn, you're right. Dog, you're right. So I'm just saying, like, it's cool to have those individuals. Like, Scary Terry is a dog and is a nice guy. Art Monk was a dog and a nice guy. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But you mentioned B. Mitch, straight dog. I ain't need to know how you were. I don't need dogs. Santana Moss, dog. I don't need Clinton Portis, dog. I don't need Sean Taylor, dog. I don't need you to be that nice person. Take your nice person, go somewhere else.
Trent Williams a dog.
Trent Williams a dog. I don't need your little nice people. Dog. I don't need your character, just your character, and be like, that's it. And you can be a half-ass player. You can go. Like, you can go. But if you get them dogs out here, like, you need to start recruiting dogs for this squad.
You
gotta
have a good mix. Somebody's got to be the goon.
Yes, somebody got to be the goon.
It's got to be Gotta be a couple goons sprinkled up in here.
Gotta have goons on this year's squad.
Jimmy Moreland was a dog.
Yes, Jimmy was a dog. Like, they treat him like Jimmy was a dog.
Jimmy was a dog. Every time that dude was on the field, he was around football fighting. He was fighting everything. And they sent him packing, but he was a dog.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because again,
I think Cam Curl got some dog in him. I think so.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
but I also feel like
yeah.
I'm feeling totally what y'all saying. It's got to be the balance. Like,
no, it got to be a balance. It definitely got to be a balance, because you don't want the inmates to run the asylum, right? But you do need, like, you can't grade it out on just character. Like, that shouldn't be character shouldn't be number one. I guess that's my thing. It should be performance.
Talent should be
talent. And then what you could coach and what you can get through. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are people that are deemed, like, whatever, you may deem them problem or characters, but certain coaches reach them, certain coaches don't. Like, that's a coach thing too at the same time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, certain people,
you want your character kids in high school, right?
Yeah,
that's character, right?
Yeah.
Even if you want a little bit of character in college, right? Because you don't want your university to get hit. This is a profession. This is your job. Bro, this is you're playing for your livelihood here, right? It's a performance-based business.
Yes.
And you need to be that dog in this performance-based business. That's why I love the XFL back then, because when you did well in the XFL, you got paid better.
Yeah.
How many times in NFL on this franchise we've seen people get paid and they don't produce. No, I agree. I think you gotta want it, man. Like, dogs want it. I don't care what your character, like, they want it. You know what I mean? Like, Clinton Portis talked about it. I know we're going off the topic, but I just want to give an example. Clinton Portis talked about how, he would drink whatever, but on that field, if he was a fan, you couldn't tell.
because he was ready. Like he was picking up blitzes, knocking DBs, linebackers on that you know what, or ends off the blitz protection and laying them out. Like Clinton Porter was a dog. You know what I'm saying? But if you looked at what some people call character, and this is the thing, Joe Gibbs like character, folks.
Yeah.
But Joe Gibbs got a bunch of dogs on his squad, and he would be like, Clinton was like one of his homies on the squad. Like, and that, if you look at what a coach like Rivera or whatever would look at him, they would be like, your character's a little iffy. But Joe Gibbs loved him some Clinton Porters. You know what I'm saying? It's just wild, like how for some coaches, like the character thing kind of rocks on, and they go with it, and they're like, okay, he's not a character guy. He's not my character. He's not my type of character player. So I won't have him. I won't have him on my team. But like sometimes you miss out, man. You miss out.
It has to be a balance, and and when you dealing with a character guy, it has to be a balance. And when you have that balance, and you as a coach, you got to understand that player and understand what makes them tick, and know what to say to them. And that's what the difference between Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs may not have liked it because guess what? Joe Gibbs, the Christian guy, right? The devout Christian, but he understood how to embrace Clinton Portis to get the best out of him.
Sure
because
did.
This is what I need you to do. Okay, big man, look, let's go. Let's run. And so Joe Gibbs had a little bit of fight in him. Look at what he does. He had fight in him. So he understood.
He got a dog in him too.
But see, I've always said this, and this is on every level, right? Your team always takes the personality of the coach.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
That's the leader.
Yeah. That's Candi say it again. Candi say it again.
Leader. That's the leader.
A real leader.
I was saying before, the coach and the quarterback have to be like married. They have to be in tandem. What we're seeing right now in the league, we're seeing coaches, so it's shifting a bit, but we're seeing coaches trust their quarterback, where the quarterback will be calling the plays in the heat of the moment. They could link eyes, and that you got it, you good, you all right.
Yeah.
You reading that defense like nobody's business. I trust you.
Yeah.
And you're right. They are taking on each other's personalities.
Yeah.
And y'all already said it. I'm like, we got a bunch of little Ron Riveras, and that's cool if that's what you want. But is that going to win you football games? Another question I said, I'm like, okay, you only a quarterback away from what? Winning the division.
What's the goal? Like what is the goal? What's the goal?
You way more than a quarterback away from winning a Super Bowl after what we just witnessed this past.
Yeah. You gotta be real. Like you got that's no, she's right. Then this is the thing. Like you gotta, and I hear this I heard it here all the time. Like, you just need a quarterback. I'm like, all right, this is an example. Look at I always use the Rams as an example, like a good example before Sean McVay got there, like right before Sean McVay got there. The Rams knew they were far away from competing at a high level. So what did? They got Sean McVay. They thought, okay, we could get Sean McVay. Quarterback is Jared Goff, but we need weapons. We need additional weapons. Okay, screw it. We're not just trying to win. We're not trying just to win. We're trying to make damage. We're trying to do damage. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to be contenders. They get Wood. They got Robert Woods already. They didn't get he played Kansas City. Sammy Watkins Jr. They got Sammy Watkins. They got added Sammy Watkins. They had Brandon Cooks too for a while. They had Brandon Cooks. Yeah. They drafted Cooper Kupp. They already had Gurley. They went on defense and stacked their defense. They didn't just leave Aaron Donald alone. They got Dominic Sue. They were bringing in Peters. They had Peters. They made trades to get to like not even make their team. They went from just trying to be a playoff squad to freaking win the bowl. Like that is what you're talking about. Like that's like saying, all right, I see where we are. Now we can be we can be a playoff team. Screw that. We trying to win a bowl. That's trying to win a bowl. Like, so to your point, Candi, it's like, yo, you just got Carson Wentz. That's just what? What is it? What is that? Okay, you win the NFC East. Say, because the Cowboys got a little weaker, you say that might be good in winning the NFC East. It might, right? Because the NFC East is trash. So that might be good enough to win a bad division. Okay, and
right, but you still got eventually you're still gonna have to face Tom Brady, who came back.
Yeah,
right. You still gonna have to face the Aaron Rodgers that's still in, right. You still gonna have to maybe face who else down there in the NFC? You're still gonna have to face a Rams team with Matthew
Stafford,
the
Super Bowl champ.
You still may have to face if they can ever get their stuff together. Arizona team.
San Francisco. That whole West is tight. The whole West is tight. The West is the best division in the NFC. In the NFC, the West is the best division.
So you're gonna have to beat some quality teams.
Yeah, the whole. Yes, I'm with you. And then who knows with the New Orleans Saints? They always have a good defense. They've just re-signed Jameis Winston. So it is what it is. Like I'm just like, show me your moves. I just want to see who you sign, re-sign, draft. And then we could talk about what this team has to offer in terms, like Candi said, like how are you going to improve? Like, where are you going to be at? You know what I'm saying? So Candi, thanks for being on. Before I let you go, let our listeners know about your show and how they can catch you on social media.
Absolutely. And thank y'all as always for having me on. But everybody, you all can find me on Twitter at Sewall SE. You can find me on Sewall Sports and Entertainment on Facebook and on Instagram at Sewall Sports. I have 2 shows. So both Culture from the Couch, one, the Washington Commanders update, which comes on Mondays, and then the DMV weekly sports update that comes on Thursdays. And then both shows come on Bowie Television on Fridays from 1:30 to 2:30. So on Verizon it's channel 11, and on Comcast Xfinity it's channel 77.
Awesome. You gonna talk about your Wizards show too? The Wizards
Triple
podcast?
W podcast. The Triple W podcast. Thank you. I'm like, dang, I'm going down the list. Like, what else? The Triple W podcast. Yes, with some dynamic ladies, Wizards media as well. So subscribe to the page on YouTube, the Triple W podcast, and on Spotify. Also.
Okay, I'm about to say, I know it's the Washington Commanders show. I say everything. I said plug everything. Hey, appreciate you for being on, man. Appreciate everybody for listening. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Search all Burgundy and go Errrything with the Urban Sports Scene. Also tweet us at Urban Sports Scene. Hit us up on IG at Urban Sports Scene. Hit Fox Sports at 1340. It's at 13. Glen's on IG at 1340 AM Fox Sports, and like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page, and like the Fox Sports 1340 AM Facebook page as well. Make sure you subscribe to Fox Sports Radio 1340 AM Hopewell, Virginia, and the Urban Sports Scene YouTube channels too. Anyway, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate Candi for being a guest on the show. Much love. All right, you've been listening to All Burgundy and Gold, Errrything with the Urban Sports Scene on Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM Hopewell, Virginia, for ages. You dig? Deuces. A mega. Lead us out, big homie.